Everyone. Good to be with you. Good to be with you, and happy Thursday to you. Still Wednesday for me, and it's the same shirt, right? Like I said, I have something medical today, so had to pre-record today's video. However, that streaming service that we uh, recently purchased or went into a contract with, however you want to phrase it, makes this easy for me to pre-record it, and it treats it as live. So you should get notifications that we're live and all that stuff. And it's to all of our platforms at the same time, which currently are three: YouTube, Facebook, and our website. Anyway, I'm Brian. I'm the pastor at Christ United Methodist Church, also known as the Chief Knucklehead here. We are in Waynesboro, which is very near the Maryland border, pretty much butts up right against the Maryland border, just a couple miles away, which is interesting, and it's wonderful down here, although it's kind of a dreary day today, looking for better weather in the very near future. I guess after we get past Friday, we have to get past Friday first, by the sound of it. So today is Thursday for you, anyway. This is the last day for this week. We will take off Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday we're back on, right? Sunday we're back on, and that'll be at 9:15 ish, depending on excuse me, depending on when I'm actually able to get in front of my computer following the early morning worship. Speaking of worship, we have two worship experiences on Sunday. One's at 8:15 and the other's at 10:45. And if you're in the area and you're comfortable doing so, you are welcome to join us for either of those. But if you're out of the area, or if you're not comfortable being in a group or in person yet, totally get it, folks. Totally get it. Join us at 10:45, because that one will still be live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, and our website, which is umcchrist.org. And I invite you to check out the website. There's lots of stuff there. You can find out about our ministries, various things that we do. You can see updates and announcements there. You can see newsletters there and the bulletin there. You can also find out how to financially support our ministries there. So it's a pretty good website. We do need to update it in some ways, but we're getting there. We're getting there. So anyway, that's enough for announcements. We're going to jump into the reading. Excuse me. And again, thank you for joining me. And many of you have been following right along. So we're up to chapter 32. We're up to chapter 32. In some ways, chapter 32 kind of picks up where chapter 24, like halfway through, left off. Some biblical scholars think that that's where this kind of belongs, but the authors, when they worked it out and figured it out, they put it here. So who are we to judge, I guess, right? But it does seem to connect back to 24:15 or something like that, going by memory on that. So God is done talking with Moses up in the mountain, giving all the instructions, and now we sort of peer down and see what the people have been doing down below. See what the people have been doing down below, and it begins. When the people saw how long it was taking Moses to come back down the mountain, they gathered around Aaron. "Come on," they said, "make us some gods who can lead us. We don't know what happened to this fellow Moses, who brought us here from the land of Egypt." Pause. I find that humorous, so humorous. This fellow Moses, like, you know, not too long ago, they were, yay, Moses, and everything that God says we're going to do, and all that kind of stuff. But as for this fellow Moses, we don't even know where he is. Well, sure you do. You saw him go up there. You can still see all the flashes of lightning and all that stuff taking place. Never says that stopped. So Aaron said, "Take the gold rings from the ears of your wives and sons and daughters and bring them to me." All the people took the gold rings from their ears and brought them to Aaron. Then Aaron took the gold, melted it down, and molded into the shape of a calf. When the people saw it, they exclaimed, "O Israel, these are the gods who brought you out of the land of Egypt." Aaron saw how excited the people were, so he built an altar in front of the calf. Then he announced, tomorrow will be a festival to Hashem. Pause. So there's a couple things taking place here, right? The people are looking for gods that they made. They're looking to have more control over things rather than a god that most of the time can't be seen, or if seen, can't be seen totally because you would die because of the holiness. They want an image that they can actually touch. They want to be in control of making it, okay? We're not told much about the calf. We're not told why a calf. And biblical scholars have a couple different ideas and thoughts. One is that they weren't really moving away from Yahweh, but they were supplying something different for Yahweh to sit on than the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant. That instead Yahweh could sit on this calf, which would also give Yahweh the ability to move, to walk around for Hashem. So that's one possibility. The other possibility, or another possibility, there's probably more than just two, is that there was a god, a Canaanite god, that was like that was imaged like a calf of some form, and that it was a fertility god. And so in creating a fertility god and starting to worship this fertility god, even if they did want to worship it as Hashem, they were claiming a promise for a future because of fertility. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Sort of makes sense. Those are a couple possibilities anyway. We're really not told specifically why a calf, right? Why a calf? And Aaron says, well, tomorrow will be a festival to Hashem. So it's like Aaron is still, following Hashem, but is willing to create this object to be Hashem. And Aaron has taken the place of Moses. Aaron has taken the place of Moses because as far as, setting up the way of worship rather than following what Moses had already said previously, which said it was okay to have an altar and to burn things, which we're going to find out. But Aaron adds to it and is creating his own way of worshiping Hashem as a calf. Continuing, the people got up early the next morning to sacrifice burnt offerings and peace offerings. After this, they celebrated with feasting and drinking, and they indulged in pagan revelry. Pause. Yeah, New Living Translation adds in that word pagan. It's really not there in the Hebrew, but revelry is. And I think by adding in pagan, they're kind of taking away some of the meaning of this. Because if we connect this back to what happened in 24 to feasting with God, it said that there were similar words. They celebrated with feasting and drinking and gazed upon God. But rather than gazing upon God, they are more or less gazing upon themselves through revelry. They are feeding themselves and giving in to their own natures and that kind of thing, rather than gazing upon God. The Lord, so verse 7, Hashem told Moses, quick, go down the mountain. Your people, whom you brought from the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. How quickly they have turned away from the way I commanded them to live. They have melted down gold and made a calf, and they have bowed down and sacrificed to it. They are saying, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Pause. So notice the words. You probably did, because I kind of emphasized it repeatedly throughout this book, throughout the story, throughout the narrative. God repeatedly said, my people, right? When going up against Pharaoh, the message was, let my people go. Actually, send my people away from you. My people, my people, my people, my people. But here God changes it, and he's telling Moses, these are your people. These are your people whom you led out of Egypt. Ooh. How quickly things have changed, right? For the people, and it would seem for Hashem. But the people are breaking two of the commandments, the first two of the 10 commandments, which they had been given. They don't have all the instructions that Hashem gave to Moses up in the mountain, but all those things were about the tabernacle and the courtyards and all those religious things. But they have been given verbally the 10 commandments. Now Moses is going to be bringing them down in hard copy, but they have been given it orally. Then Hashem said, I have seen how stubborn and rebellious these people are. Now leave me alone, so my fierce anger can blaze against them, and I will destroy them. Then I will make you, Moses, into a great nation. But Moses tried to pacify Hashem, his God. Oh, Hashem, he said, why are you so angry with your own people? Ooh, pause, or a brief aside. He's throwing it back at God. These are your people. These are your people. You have claimed them as your people, whom you brought from the land of Egypt with such great power and such a strong hand. Why let the Egyptians say their God rescued them with the evil intention of slaughtering them in the mountains and wiping them from the face of the earth? Turn away from your fierce anger. Change your mind about this terrible disaster you have threatened against your people. Remember your servants Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. You bound yourself with an oath to them, saying, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars of heaven, and I will give them all of this land that I have promised to your descendants, and they will possess it forever. So Hashem changed his mind about the terrible disaster he had threatened to bring on his people. Pause. Wow. And we have that crazy idea that you shouldn't argue with God, right? You shouldn't question God especially when bad things happen. Spoiler alert, bad things aren't caused by God. They are allowed by God as part of free will and all that other stuff. But where do we have that idea that we shouldn't argue with God or question God? Here's an example right here of Moses questioning and arguing with God and changing God's mind, apparently, at least somewhat. Continuing, then Moses turned and went down the mountain. He held in his hands the 2 stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. They were inscribed on both sides, front and back. These tablets were God's work. The words on them were written by God himself. Pause. So the movie The 10 Commandments got it wrong, right? It's not just on the front of the tablets, it's inscribed on both sides. But it is just the 10 Commandments. It's not all that other stuff. This is the only thing that was written, literally written, we're told, the story says, written by God's own finger. So it's the only piece that is, and that's the piece that they're getting. They've been told it before, but now they're going to actually be given the 10 Commandments, be given them the covenant. Okay? So continuing, verse 17. Now, so Moses is left from God and he's picking up Joshua on his way down, right? He's met up with Joshua. So verse 17, when Joshua heard the boisterous noise of the people shouting below them, he exclaimed to Moses, it sounds like war in the camp. But Moses replied, no, it's not a shout of victory, nor the wailing of defeat. I hear the sound of celebration. When they came near the camp, Moses saw the calf and the dancing, and he burned with anger. Pause, in Hebrew, it's the same words to describe how God reacted. Continuing, he threw the stone tablets to the ground, smashing them at the foot of the mountain. He took the calf they had made and burned it. Then he ground it into powder, threw it into the water, and forced the people to drink it. Pause. In other words, he's making them choke on their own actions, right? He's making them choke on their own actions. It was their actions to create this God, this idol. And so he burns it, grinds it up into a powder, throws it in the water, and makes them drink it, so that they basically are going to choke on their own actions. It's pretty poetic. And we might describe it as poetic justice at the same time. So Moses has discussed with God about this action. He's faced Joshua about it. He's directly faced the people, and now he's going to turn and face his brother Aaron. We see in this not only what's just happened, but in what's about to happen. We can see Aaron and Moses being set up as antagonists now. They're no longer of the same mind, if they ever were. If they ever were, they are no longer of the same mind and the same purpose, and it sets up for future, or it may just be an explanation of the future, where where there is almost an Aaronic. Well, I mentioned the Aaronic priesthood, and there's sort of the followers of that way, and yes, there's the Mosaic faith. So you have the Aaronic faith and the Mosaic faith, which seem to go against each other. So Aaron and his descendants, the Aaronic priesthood, is on one side, and we end up with the Levites on the other side. They are the ones that are defenders of the Mosaic faith. They're defenders of the Mosaic faith, and we're going to find that out. We're going to see that real soon. So verse 21, finally, he turned to Aaron and demanded, "What did these people do to you to make you bring such terrible sin upon them?" "Don't get so upset, my lord," Aaron replied. "You yourself know how evil these people are. They said to me, 'Make us gods who will lead us.' We don't know what happened to this fellow Moses who brought us here from the land of Egypt. So I told them, 'Whoever has gold jewelry, take it off.' When they brought it to me, I simply threw it into the fire, and out came this calf." Pause. Most of what Aaron says is the same as the earlier description, right? Isn't it? The people came to him and said, "Make us gods so that we can worship them," whatever. As for this fellow Moses, but the narrative says that he melted the gold and molded it into the shape of a calf. Here, and in Hebrew, the calf is the subject of the verb that it made itself. It made itself. I had nothing to do with it. All I did was throw the gold into the fire, and this is what came out. 25. Moses saw that Aaron had let the people get completely out of control, much to the amusement of their enemies. So he stood at the entrance to the camp and shouted, "All of you who are on Hashem's side, come here and join me." And all the Levites gathered around him. Pause. So Moses sees that the people are out of control. That's the issue here. They're completely out of control, and they are becoming an embarrassment. Actually, that description that they're out of control and an embarrassment, that the idea of them being an embarrassment echoes Pharaoh's words. It's a different translation, but the same root word when Pharaoh was complaining about them not doing their work and becoming a stink. Okay, so it's different. And he gathers all the Levites around him. Notice something. Moses doesn't say, "Anybody who's on my side, come here." No, he says, "Whoever is on Hashem's side." But what he's actually doing is almost, anyway, equating himself with Hashem. He's basically saying, Hashem is on my side. Is Hashem's side. My side is Hashem's side. Not Hashem's side is my side. My side is Hashem's side. And so if you're on Hashem's side, come over here by me. And the Levites gathered around. So continuing, verse 27, Moses told them, this is what Hashem, the God of Israel, says. Each of you, take your swords and go back and forth from one end of the camp to the other. Kill everyone, even your brothers, friends, and neighbors. The Levites obeyed Moses' command, and about 3,000 people died that day. Pause. Now, it doesn't say the narrative, the story does not have Hashem giving that directive to Moses. Moses took it upon himself to say, this is what God says to do. I really can't see God wanting them to do that, but that's what Moses said Hashem wanted the Levites to do. And they did it, killing about 3,000 people. They are defenders of the Mosaic faith. And in doing this, they have, we might say that they have ordained themselves as priests under Moses. Oh, here, we don't have to say it because it says it in the script, in the text in the next verse. Then Moses told the Levites, today you have ordained yourselves for the service of Hashem, for you obeyed him, even though it meant killing your own sons and brothers. Today you have earned a blessing. Pause. In Hebrew, it's Moses giving the blessing, not God. It's Moses giving the blessing, not Hashem. So that's interesting too. You have ordained yourself for the service of Hashem by killing your sons and brothers. Continuing, verse 30. The next day, Moses said to the people, you have committed a terrible sin. But I will go back up to Hashem on the mountaintop. Perhaps I will be able to obtain forgiveness for your sin. So Moses returned to Hashem and said, oh, what a terrible sin these people have committed. They have made gods of gold for themselves. But now, if you will only forgive their sin, but if not, erase my name for the record you have written. Pause. Because did you notice that? Moses says, if you will forgive, right? Usually, when we read something that starts off with an if, we're expecting a then, correct? An if then. If you do this, then whatever. So if you, but Moses can't come up with the right words. He can't come up with something big enough, important enough, something that would elevate God's status that matches up with the idea of God forgiving this terrible sin as he describes it, right? There is none. There's nothing. There's nothing that's equal to it. If God, if you forgive this sin, you will be honored greatly. But it's not an equal. So Moses can't even come up with it. He can't figure it out. So rather than an if then, we get a double if. An if and an if not, perhaps. It's a double if. So if you will only forgive their sin, but if not, what's the if not? If you're going to go on if you want to go on and if you want to hold this sin against them and you're going to go ahead and destroy them all, take me along with it. Erase my name from the record you have written. This goes back to verse 10 or whatever it was. Verse 10, then I will make you, Moses, into a great nation. Moses says, I don't want that. If you're going to hold on to it, if you're going to punish these people, just blot my name out right with them. Blot my name right out with them. That's quite the challenge. That's what he's doing. He's challenging God in the same way that Jonah challenged God with the Ninevites. He said, might as well just kill me too. Might as well just kill me. That's what Moses says here. But what is God? God's not going to fall for that. God's not going to fall for that. God's not going to not going to accept that challenge. Or you're not in charge here, Moses. You're not in charge here. So Hashem says in verse 33, but Hashem replied to Moses, no, I will erase the name of everyone who has sinned against me. Now go, lead the people to the place I told you about. In other words, the promised land. Look, my angel will lead the way before you. And when I come to call the people to account, I will certainly hold them responsible for their sins. Then Hashem sent a great plague upon the people because they had worshipped the calf Aaron had made. End of chapter. So God's not gonna, Moses, you don't make the rules. You don't set the terms. I do. I'm not gonna blot you out. I'm only gonna blot out the ones who sinned against me. I'm only gonna punish the ones who sinned against me. Then it says that God sent a plague upon them. We're not told what that plague was. There might be something in the in Jewish literature as far as conjectures of what it is, but I wasn't able to really locate anything. It doesn't specifically say, at least not at this point. Well, friends, I pray that this has been beneficial to you, that that God has spoken to you in some way through what you've read, through what you have heard. As you go about your day to day, keep your eyes and ears open to what God is doing in your life, because God is active and alive in the world. We just have to see it and hear it. When you do that, say, thanks, Papa, and then tell somebody about it, including me. I'd love to hear it. Be blessed, my friends. Be